Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Lokah Swayam Shreyasi Nashta Drishtir.
Lokah Swayam Shreyasi Nashta Drishtir.
Yorathan Samiheta Nikama Kama.
Yorathan Samiheta Nikama Kama.
Anyonya Vairah Sukha Lesha Hetur.
Anyonya Vairah Sukha Lesha Hetur.
Ananta Dukkham Chanaveda Mudha.
Ananta Dukkham Chanaveda Mudha.
Yes, someone like to read?
May I read, Prabhu?
Yes, please.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Translation. Due to ignorance, the materialistic person does not know anything about his real self-interest, the obvious path in life. He is simply bound to material enjoyment by lusty desires, and all his plans are made for this purpose. For temporary sense gratification, such a person creates a society of envy, and due to this mentality, he plunges into the ocean of suffering. Such a foolish person does not even know about this. Purport. The word nasta drishtahi, meaning one who has no eyes to see the future, is very significant in this verse. Life goes on from one body to another, and the activities performed in this life are enjoyed or suffered in the next life, if not later in this life. One who is unintelligent, who has no eyes to see the future, simply creates an enmity and fights with others for sense gratification. As a result, one suffers in the next life, but due to being like a blind man, he continues to act in such a way that he suffers unlimitedly. Such a person is a Mudha, one who simply wastes his time and does not understand the Lord's devotional service. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 7.25, Naham Prakasha Sarvasya Yoga Maya Samvartaha Mudoyam Nabi Jinanavati Lokomam Ajam Avyayam. I am never manifest to the foolish and unintelligent. For them, I am covered by by eternal creative potency, Yogmaya. And so the deluded world knows me, not who am unborn and infallible. In the Katha Upanishad, it is also said, Avidyayam Antare Vartamanaha Swayam Dhiraha Panditam Manya Manaha. Although ignorant people still go to other blind men for leadership. As a result, both are subjected to miserable conditions. The blind lead the blind into the ditch. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. Yes. Naham Prakashah Sarvasya Yoga Maya Samavrita Mudhoyam Na Abhijanati Loko Mam Ajam Avyayam. So I am not manifest to the foolish and unintelligent. See, Krishna, right from the very beginning of Bhagavad Gita, is advising. Actually, the first instruction of Bhagavad Gita is, that you are lamenting for something which is not worth lamenting. So you see, Krishna is right from the beginning, he has advised that you are not this body, you are the soul. Srila Prabhupada, in the very first verse of the second chapter, he writes in the purport that, Arjun is a fool because he is lamenting for something which is not worth lamenting. To have compassion for the clothes of a drowning man, to save the clothes of a drowning man is no wisdom. So just like that, to save the body is of no use, because body will be finished in due course of time. As time progresses, the body will be finished. So Those who are too engrossed in the bodily conception of life are at the level of animals. Dharmo hi tesham adhiko vishesho dharmena hinaha pashubhir samana. Dharmena hina, without dharma, without understanding the real purpose of human life, one is only an animal. Ahar nidra bhaya maithun. Samanyam etat pashubhir narana. So one is only an animal. So at that stage, if one is still engaged in bodily endeavors, then he's not even come to the platform of human life. So one may be very polished, one may be very cultured, very educated, but if he has no interest in knowing about the soul, he is only an animal, a polished animal. To such a person, there's no question of understanding Krishna. Krishna is talking about spiritual life in terms of jnana and vigyan, knowing the distinction between the soul and the body and the soul, and knowing the relationship between the soul and the super soul, jnana and vijnana. So one who has not even reached the level of jnana can certainly never cross over to the level of vijnana. So therefore he remains at an animal level only. Before we know about the supreme soul, we have to know about the soul. And if we have no conception of the soul, then there is no question of knowing the super soul. So therefore, this is a very logical statement that Krishna is not manifest to the foolish and unintelligent. So does it mean that Krishna covers himself? No, not really. Krishna is plain in sight for everyone to see, but a fool cannot see. So you see, Krishna is saying that the sun and the moon are my eyes. Krishna is saying that I am within the heart of every living entity. So Krishna is there. If we wake up in the morning and realize that our hearts are beating, then we know that Krishna is already there. If we can see the sky and we can see the daylight, we know Krishna is there. If we see the moonlight, we know Krishna is there. Rasuham apsu konteya. He's the taste of water. So if we feel happy after drinking water on a hot day, like now the summer is on, if you drink water and you feel satisfied, you should know that is Krishna. Rasuham apsu konteya. I am the taste of water. So he's plainly there. But why does Krishna say, I am never manifest to the foolish and unintelligent? So the next statement is even more interesting. For them, I am covered by my eternal creative potency. So he's covered over. We cannot see him. He is plainly manifest. The same world is manifest to the saintly souls and to the demonic. But the saintly souls, they become pleased when they see this world because they see Krishna. But the same world is manifest to the demonic and they cannot appreciate Krishna. So as devotees, if we are not able to appreciate Krishna in other life forms, Panditaha Samdarshina, if we are unable to appreciate Krishna's presence in other living entities, if we are unable to appreciate his presence in this nature itself, then we also fall in this category of, Mudha yam nabhijanati. We fall in this category of Mudha because in spite of knowing about the scriptures, we are not able to appreciate Krishna. So Krishna, like Srila Prabhupada says, your material eyes have no value. You should see through the eyes of the scripture. So Krishna is very much there. We have to see through the eyes of scripture. Like Prabhupada gives this example. If you see the stick and shoes of the father, you know father is there. Even though father is not standing in the shoes or with the stick, but you know that father is there by looking at his paraphernalia. So just like that, a pure devotee, he looks at nature and he can immediately perceive the presence of Krishna. So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he would see the blue sky, he would faint. He would see a bluish cloud and he would faint, thinking about Krishna. So this is the position. So how do we know then Krishna? So we can know Krishna by just studying the scriptures under the instructions of a spiritual master. So here Srila Prabhupada has given elaborate purports. So there is scripture and there is spiritual master. Simply by reading these purports, you would be able to appreciate Krishna, provided you follow the rules and regulations of bhakti very strictly. So one should not live like a Mudha, especially a devotee. A devotee should endeavor. See, in the beginning stages of devotion, we will not have this concept of Krishna, we will not have conception of Krishna. But theoretically, we can understand. So theoretically, at least a devotee should not take part in those activities which are binding him more into bodily identification. Like, for example, social, understanding, thinking that I am this body, thinking that I belong to this place, I speak this language, I am this, I am that. So that causes an increase in this bondage within this material world. A devotee doesn't belong to India or West or Africa or North or South. India, a devotee is not a Punjabi, Marathi, Bengali or North Indian or South Indian. A devotee is not a patriot or anything. A devotee is only a devotee of Krishna. Like the Bible also says, you cannot serve two masters. So we can also serve only one master, that is Krishna. So if a devotee continues to maintain bodily identifications, if he continues to nurture those identifications, at least because in the early stages of bhakti, one's bodily identification will be strong. But if one continues to nurture them instead of trying to overcome them, then one is in the category of mudha. It's also in the category of aparadh. Maintaining material attachments in spite of hearing so many instructions in this regard. So we have to give up this bodily identification. We have to fight to give it up. It will not go away so quickly, but we have to constantly strive. Hare Krishna. Any questions or comments? Okay, we continue. Text 17. Kastam swayam tad abhidyo vipaschit.
Kastam swayam tadvivigyo vipashyat.
Avidyayam antare vartamana.
Avidyayam antare vartmanam.
Drishtva punastam sagrana kubuddhim.
Drishtva punastam sagrana kubuddhim.
Prayojayed utpathagam yathandam.
Prayojayet utpathagam yathantam.
If someone is ignorant and addicted to the path of sansar, how can one who is actually learned, merciful, and advanced in spiritual knowledge engage him in fruitive activity and thus further entangle him in material existence? If a blind man is walking down the wrong path, how can a gentleman allow him to continue on his way to danger? How can he approve this method? No wise or kind man can allow this. So many times actually, Srila Prabhupada was criticized. Prabhupada, you speak too strongly. You should not say like this. You should not use the word fools and rascals this way and that way. And Prabhupada would get very angry. Prabhupada said that, in 1968, actually, Srila Prabhupada was in New York and he was with Kirtananand Swami. So, Kirtananand Swami, and they were sitting with devotees. So, Kirtananand Swami spoke to Prabhupada. He said, Prabhupada, maybe we should not criticize these Mayavadis so harshly because, the modern world is practically all Mayavadis. So Prabhupada, he got angry. He said, you are saying this because you are a Mayavadi. You cannot tolerate this. That's why you are saying this. So you see, especially in our movement also when we see, we should understand that, this path of materialism is a path to disaster. Especially if a devotee thinks that, this family life, material property, everything is going to bring happiness, then the devotee is also he's also walking down a dangerous path. It's very dangerous. As responsible devotees, we should correct others as much as they can take it. If someone is getting angry, then we should understand that he's a fool. A humble person will at least understand that this is wrong. So, as we have seen previously also, like Srila Prabhupada, I was just reading, not here, okay, sorry. I was reading in one of the lectures of Srila Prabhupada. He said, it is the duty of the spiritual master to instruct the disciple. And disciple sometimes may not be able to follow it. But the spiritual master should not get angry. He should continue instructing till such time as the disciple is able to follow the instruction. The sincerity of the disciple is that he is trying his best to follow the instructions. If subsequently he is still falling down, then that is excusable. But the devotee should be trying very hard. So the point is that we should go on instructing. So not that the disciple gets angry that the spiritual master is instructing. So anyone can instruct on behalf of the spiritual master. Yes, certainly one's own character must be paramount, must be like, the best to preach. But even if it's not there, one can at least tell the others about the correct path. Because the instructions of the acharyas are clear, very clear. We are all sadhakas. So as far as possible, one should avoid activities which lead us to the path of danger. So if we see something going wrong and we ignore it, saying that, hey, that's not my business, or if we ignore it thinking that, hey, someone may get angry, then we are also a party to that offense. In Mahabharata, this instance comes, when all the elders are killed. So the question is asked to Yudhishthira Maharaj, why were so many people killed? So Yudhishthira Maharaj's answer is that, when injustice took place, so many others who knew what was the path of dharma, they did not object. So one who does not object to injustice, he's also equally guilty. One may think, hey, this is inconvenient. Why should I speak out? It's all right. These people are too powerful. They may do something to me. If one thinks like this, then one also becomes a party to that offense, to that sin. So especially nowadays we see so many people have this misconception that Srila Prabhupada is somehow obsolete, or he is not relevant, or maybe he didn't know so much. He did not give us rasa literatures. That these are all offensive thoughts. Offensive thoughts of utterly ignorant people. If we hear these kind of words, we should point out immediately. No, Acharya is never imperfect. In fact, there was one disciple of Srila Prabhupada, His Holiness Suhotra Swami. When he heard all of this nonsense, he wrote a book. What was that book? Rasa Shastras in Prabhupada's books. It was a big book, like some 300-400 pages he wrote on how all the knowledge which is to be found in Govinda Lilamrit or Krishna Karnamrit, all these books can be found in Srila Prabhupada's books, provided you are attentive enough to see. So you see, that is what a disciple does. Upholds the instructions of his spiritual master and defends the philosophy of his spiritual master. To whatever extent you should fight and defend. So if you think, okay, this is inconvenient, maybe, hey, it's all right, I'm not following myself so much, this and that, then you'll also become a party to that offense. Because by not obeying the instructions of the acharyas, people will go to hell. And you could have at least done your duty in instructing them in this regard, but because you ignored, you become a party to that. So therefore, it's our duty to preach. That's why Mahaprabhu says, Jare dekha tare kaha Krishna upadesh. Or he says, Bharat bhumita haile manushya janmajar, janma sarthaka kari kar paropkar. If you've taken birth in the land of India, then it's your duty to perfect yourself and to preach to others. So preaching can go on. As much as you know from the scriptures, you should go on preaching. Do not compromise. Do not change anything. Hare Krishna. Yes, any questions or comments? Yeah, no diplomacy. Yeah. Okay, so text 18. This is very interesting verse. Yes.
Prabhuji, one question. But sometimes when we are preaching, knowing knowing that the audience is very, very new, certain nuances you cannot preach to that audience. So what is that considered?
Okay. So when you are preaching to a new person, when you start preaching to a first grade student, you don't teach the theories of algebra or Euclidean geometry. You just teach him 1, 2, 3 addition, subtraction.
Just the basics, right? That means that's not considered as that the person who's preaching modified the message. No, right?
Yes. So preaching doesn't stop. Preaching doesn't stop till such time as we reach the lotus feet of Krishna.
Yes.
Preaching is needed even in the heavenly. So you see, preaching goes on continuously, and Srila Prabhupada, like towards the later part, 1974 onwards, Srila Prabhupada was very emphatic that we should preach to the devotees. In 1974, Srila Prabhupada wrote a letter to one of the temple presidents. He said, you wrote to me, you are telling me that the program is nice and people are increasing, but our men are deteriorating. So what is the use? It is better that you focus on quality than quantity. Boil the milk. It's time to boil the milk. We have enough people in our society. Now improve their standards. Otherwise, if you go on adding more and more water, there will be no milk left. So if we have hundreds and thousands of neophytes who have no knowledge of philosophy, then our movement will vanish. So those who have become devotees, those who are convinced about Krishna consciousness, they should now go deeper into the scriptures and their philosophy. They should improve their own standard of bhakti. There is no limit to how much we can improve. We can go on improving till such time as we reach Golok. And in Golok, again, there will be time to improve our service to Krishna. The gopis, the gopas, they're always striving. The boys who are playing with Krishna, they're always striving to improve the games they play with Krishna to give him more happiness. The gopis, they're always striving to give more pleasure to Krishna through the Ras Leela and through the cooking or through their food that they cook. So in this way, you see, there is no end to how much we can improve in bhakti. There's no limit. Krishna himself is improving all the time, even though he is perfect.
Thank you, Guruji. Hare Krishna.
Krishna. Yep. So text 18. Very important verse. We have discussed this many times in the past, and especially important for those who are parents and counselors or shiksha gurus. Gurur nasasyat swajano nasasyat.
Jano nasasya.
Pita nasasyat janani nasasyat.
Pitana sasyat jananina
Janani
sasyat.
nasasya.
Devam natatsyan napatischa sasyan.
Devam
Sasyan.
Na mochayed yah samupeta vrityum.
Vrityam.
Yes, please.
Translation purport by Sri Prabhupada. Sri Prabhupada ki Jai. One who cannot deliver his dependents from the path of repeated birth and death should never become a spiritual master, a father, husband, a mother, or a worshipable demigod. Purport. There are many spiritual masters, but Rishabh advises that one should not become a spiritual master if he is unable to save his disciple from the path of birth and death. Unless one is pure devotee of Krishna consciousness, he cannot save himself from the path of repeated birth and death. Taktva deham purad janam nati mam iti se Arjuna. One cannot stop birth and death only by returning home, back to God. However, who can go back to Godhead unless the understand the Supreme Lord's Janam karam che mam devam evam evayoti tattva. We have many instances in history illustrating the Rishabhadev's instructions. Shukracharya has rejected by Bali Maharaj due to his inability to save Bali Maharaj from the path of repeated birth and death. Shukracharya was not a pure devotee. He was more or less inclined to curative activity and he objected when Bali Maharaj promised to give everything to the Lord, Vishnu. Actually, one is supposed to give everything to the Lord because everything belongs to the Lord. Consequently, the Supreme Lord advises in Bhagavad Gita 9.27, Yat karosi, yat asnati, yat jashosi, tadhasyata, yat tapasyashi, kauntaye, tav karuse mad apraham. O son of Kunti, all that you do, all that you eat, all that you offer and give away, as well as all austerities that you may perform, should be done as an offering unto me. This is bhakti. Unless one is devoted, he cannot give everything to the Lord. Unless one can do so, he cannot become a spiritual master, husband, father or mother. Similarly, the wives of the Brahmins who were performing sacrifices gave up their relatives just to satisfy Krishna. This is an example of a wife rejecting a husband who cannot deliver her from the impending dangers of birth and death. Similarly, Prahlad Maharaj rejected his father and Bharat Maharaj rejected his mother, Janani Nase Sate. The word Devam indicates a demigod or one who accepts worship from the dependent. Ordinarily, the spiritual master, husband, father, mother, or superior relative accepts worship from an inferior relative. But here, Rishabdev forbids this. First, the father, the spiritual master, husband, must be able to release the dependent from the repeated birth and death. If he cannot do this, he plunges himself into the ocean of reproachment for his unlawful activities. Everyone should be very responsible and take charge of his dependents, just as a spiritual master takes charge of his disciple, or a father takes charge of his son. All these responsibilities cannot be discharged honestly unless one can save the dependent from the repeated birth and death. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Yes. So, this verse, before anyone, amongst us, if someone is deciding to enter into Grihastha they should write this verse down and read it every day. Or those of who are Grihasthas who want to become parents, they should write down this verse and read it every day. In this material world, the human birth, especially that in the male body, is a very high responsibility. It's a very, very responsible task. Like sometimes, like if a man is given the uniform of a soldier or a policeman, then it's a very serious responsibility. A policeman cannot say that, hey, I am tired, or it's too dangerous to be outside or something. He cannot say that. He is the one who's supposed to face danger and protect others. So the spiritual master is also supposed to protect others. That's the role of a spiritual master. So anyone who takes that position, whether one is guru, a spiritual master, or a father, a husband, mother, worshipable demigod. So very interesting. Here one more word is used here, swajana, or relative. So Srila Prabhupada has not put that in translation, but it's there in Sanskrit. Guror nasasyat swajano nasasyat. So Pita, Janani, Devam, Pati, Guru. So these words are here, but Swajan, a relative also. So if you think you are a brother, you are a sister, you are an uncle, or your aunt, or a nephew, or a niece, it is your duty. If you feel affection for anyone, it is automatically your duty to give them the path of liberation. Imagine you're a rich man and you have a nephew. The nephew is poor. Your brother or whoever is your relative, brother, sister, whoever is it is cousin. They are not very rich. And you're a rich man. You go to visit them and you love the nephew or the niece very much. Will you not take some gifts for them? Because you can afford it. You will always take something according to your capacity, your purchasing power. So if you have the science of Krishna consciousness, why would you not share that? It becomes your responsibility. So just like that, you may buy a toy and give it to the nephew, to the little boy, and he may not like it. He may throw it away. But that's not your responsibility. You cannot say, hey, that boy will anyway throw away this toy. Why bother giving him anything? You cannot say that. I mean, people will think, what kind of a person is he? You have to give it. So just like that, it's not your responsibility if others are not taking this knowledge, but it is definitely your responsibility to give this knowledge. So if you are not sharing this knowledge, you're not giving it to them, then you become culpable. So therefore, it is extremely important that if you have the knowledge of science of Krishna, you should share it. So likewise, mother, father, see, what is the meaning of this? You have enjoyed the association of your husband or your wife or your child. So it becomes your responsibility to enlighten them. And likewise, if you are associating with someone who's in a responsible position, but not giving you Krishna consciousness, then also it becomes your duty to give up their association. We are not in this world to enjoy the company of husband or wife or child or uncle or father or mother. This world is too small, the lifespan is too short to be enjoying such things. In spiritual world, which is our real place, we have all of this. If you go outside your house during the monsoons and it's raining horribly, you're not going to sit in the street and start petting some dogs or cats. No, you have all of that at home. Your job is to finish your task and come back home because outside is miserable. So likewise, this material world is miserable. It is not your position here to be enjoying the association of family, society, nation, or so on and so forth. You have to finish your business and get out fast. And your business is to know Krishna. First of all, to find out who is Krishna, and then to give this knowledge to him. Jare dekha, tare kaha Krishna Upadesh. So Srila Prabhupada quotes this verse here. Yat karoshi yad ashnasi, yad juhoshi dadasi, yat tapasyasi kaunteya, tat kurushva madarpanam. So whatever you are doing, O son of Kunti, all that you do, all that you eat, all that you offer and give away, as well as austerities that you may perform, should be done as an offering unto me. So think of it from the perspective of family life. All that you do, what do? You are an engineer, you are a doctor, you are a manager, a soldier, a lawyer. Who are you doing it for? We've been discussing this. What is the objective of your life? Are you just doing it because your wife is beautiful, or your children are very nice, or because, hey, I am a big man, I have to do it for the society? Are you doing it for that? Or do you think that, this wife, these children, they are with me, but my real objective is to serve Krishna? Like an army man, or why I speak of army men also, like just think of this railway workers. There is no question of them asking for any leaves or anything. When there's duty, there is duty. They have to do it. They do an essential service. A soldier will not say, hey, I have to celebrate vacation with my wife. There is a war, but I can fight this war later. Let me just enjoy some days with my wife. No, he'll be court-martialed. So he cannot say that. So do you think the same way about Krishna consciousness? Like a soldier thinks about his duty. If you think, yes, that's my objective, everything else is secondary, primary is Krishna, then you are on the right track. So all that you do, all that you eat, of course, this goes without saying, devotees only take Krishna Prasad. All that you offer and give away. So are you doing it because, hey, I'm a rich man, if I give a donation of 1 lakh, then people will take my name. So and so Prabhuji gave away so much donation. Are you doing it for this purpose? Or are you doing this, I have heard that I should give so much donation, then Krishna will repay me. So what is the mind? What is your thought before you are giving away anything? It should be done only as a service to Krishna. Manasa deha geha jo kichu mora, arpilu tuya pade nanda kishora, rakhe bhi mare bhi jo ichha tohar, nitya dasa prati tuya adhikar. So this should be the consciousness when we give donation, that it anyway belongs to Krishna. A Brahmana offers the water of Ganges to Ganges, but he doesn't claim that, hey, I took out so much water, now this is my water. No, he knows his humble position. He knows that water is provided by Mother Ganges itself. She herself is providing the water. So he accepts it with gratitude and he offers it back to the mother with gratitude. So that should be the consciousness regarding charity in the process of Krishna consciousness. As well as all austerities that you may perform should be done as an offering unto me. So what are the austerities? Well, we perform terrible austerities actually, all of us. 20 to 25 years of education that we take, it's a terrible austerity. Go back to any college or just open a YouTube video and see classrooms and see, can you do your graduation again? Can you even think about your high school again? All the stress and all the trouble you took, cramming in thousands of books, trying to understand all the complicated theories and philosophies. All of that you have done. A good 1/4 of your life, more than 1/4 of your life has just gone in this acquiring this education. So these are austerities. Now, also after this education, you are working so hard. Is there anyone in our group who can say that their job is very pleasant? It's like paradise. No, it's an austerity. It's a terrible austerity. 8 to 10 hours per day we are slogging. According to Vedic standards, Grihasthas work for 4 hours a day, but we are working twice that amount. So who are we doing it for? Are we doing it for our family, for our reputation? Hey, look at me, I am such a reputed engineer, or such a reputed surgeon, or such a reputed lawyer, or whatever. So who are we doing it for? Is our objective Krishna or not? If our objective is not Krishna, then what can we guide others? We ourselves need guidance. So therefore, unless one's consciousness is 100% dedication to Krishna, then one should not take any responsible position, because one will be bound to go to hell for all of that. We have seen the example of the snake and the ants. So just like that, if we become a husband, a mother, a relative, a father, a guru, or anything, and we don't ourselves, we don't strive to know Krishna, and then we don't strive to give this knowledge to others, then we become liable for all this sinful reaction. Then we will have to go to hell until such time as our dependents are delivered from this world. If he cannot do this, he plunges himself into the ocean of reproachment for his unlawful activities. Everyone should be very responsible and take charge of his dependents, just as a spiritual master takes charge of his disciple, or a father takes charge of his son. So all these responsibilities cannot be discharged honestly unless one can save the dependent from repeated birth and death. Even dogs and cats, they take care of their children. The humans are not unique. So we should be very, very particular. So you see, this material world is a dangerous place. We have to be very, very particular. Hare Krishna. Yes, any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat
Yeah, actually, we have discussed this before also, but because this thing, like we are in a position to instruct about Krishna consciousness, but if the person whom we are trying to instruct has an offensive mentality, then it's better to refrain from instructing such a person.
So actually, this question has been answered. I'll just repeat the answer. So Keshavanand Prabhu has given a whole lecture on this topic. I think I've shared it twice already. This one, how to do bhakti in family. Because this is particularly applicable in a family situation. Like outside, like when we are doing group preaching or something, if someone is not interested, they will just go away. Or we can go away. It doesn't matter to anyone. But in family situation, it becomes a bit tricky. So Keshavanand Prabhu has actually explained this very nicely. See, in a family setting, of course, you can't tell your husband or your wife to just get lost, okay, now just leave this house and go away. Or you can't pack your bags and leave like that. So what he suggests is, and this is logical also, that, don't maintain attachment. It's okay. They may be husband, they may be wife, they may be children, they may be even parents. So you just do your bare minimum duty. Mandodari, best example.
Mandodari, just a second. Actually, I'm not talking about us maintaining attachment or not. I'm talking about trying to preach to such people. That should we try to?
Yeah, I'll tell you why you should try. Maya Devi, by her arrangement, will kick everyone. Everyone, without exception. One may be the President of America, and you just saw the President of America stumbled and fell down 3 days ago. So you see, everyone will be kicked by Maya very hard. So if it's a husband, it's a wife, it's a child or mother or father, you try preaching first. If they are not keen, if they're not interested, you just stay away. And when they are kicked by Maya, you can again approach them. If they still remain offensive, well, that's their fate, destiny. But what you should do is, don't maintain emotional attachment with them. It's hard, but you should try. Keep your distance. See, what is emotional attachment? Let's analyze this. What is emotional attachment? It's a feeling, isn't it?
Hmm.
I like it, I don't like it. So what is
Hmm.
feeling? In Sanskrit, it means bhava.
Hmm.
So we are not attached to that person. We are attached to the gunas in that person, isn't it? You
Hmm.
don't love a portrait of your husband. You love him, his personality. No
Hmm.
one falls in love with a picture. People fall in love with personalities.
Hmm.
Personality is nothing but three gunas. The three gunas.
Hmm.
So these three gunas, that means that is our bhava. So somewhere down the line, that bhava is going to affect us.
Hmm.
So at the time of death, this bhava will remain with us.
Hmm.
It's very difficult to give up feelings. You can give up thoughts. You can't give up
Hmm.
feelings. If you train yourself hard enough, within 10 years, you can switch over from being a surgeon to becoming an engineer.
Hmm.
And your knowledge would also be forgotten over a period of time.
Hmm.
But you can't change your feelings. If you like sweet or you like salty, that won't change with age.
Hmm.
So to change feelings requires a lot of effort, a lot of purification. To change feelings, we have to change the gunas.
Hmm. Hmm.
Like, I speak for myself. Like when I was not a devotee, I used to like raw onions. I didn't like the taste of meat or anything, but I used to like raw onions. I used to like the tangy flavor. But after becoming a devotee, so I had to give it up. That was like, it had to be given up. There was no question.
Hmm.
So, like over a period of time, this taste remains. It doesn't go away. But gradually, like after many, many, many years, I remember, I don't know where I was, in somebody's house or I was traveling somewhere, and I saw some raw onions. Someone was chopping them.
Hmm.
So the smell really kind of got me. This time, then I realized that now I have really lost taste for raw onions. Like now I'm not able to relish them at all.
Hmm.
Earlier, that smell was very, nice. I mean, I used to like it. Now I don't like it at all. Like now it felt a bit repulsive. Or eggs, for example.
Actually, even Keshavanand Prabhu gives this example, no? That he gives this example of chole bhature. Matlab, he's saying how to, if you feel that you love chole bhature, don't even go anywhere where they are available near. And it is just a matter of time. If you can practice it for some time, then you will lose all interest. And then even once you reach that point, then even if you are confronted with that, it makes no difference to you. So you have to hold on for some time.
Yeah, eventually it goes away. So Krishna is also saying, that by higher taste. So you have to give up. Yeah, so giving up lower taste means that. So you give up the lower taste, that means you don't maintain any association with that. Gradually you will forget it. So, but it takes practice, it doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah, means we generally don't preach to them, and if at all we find and just pray for them, give them prasad, and do it all the indirect ways, and just hope that one day this will work.
Yeah, but at the same time, you try to give up their association, even if they are devotees, because this is going to be broken one day. When we talk of Varnashram by default means Daivi Varnashram. That means everyone is a devotee. So even if the husband and wife are devotees, at some point the husband has to take vanaprastha, or he has to take sannyas. So that association also has to be given up, because you see, somewhere down the line there is a thread in this association which is based on personal affection, which is material. We don't know, I may think that, oh, this person is so lovely, she is my wife, but actually that's not the reality. That soul, I don't even know that soul. that soul doesn't know itself, I don't know who I myself am. So you see, this is like I am seeing my own reflection, and my reflection is loving another reflection. It's very hard. It's very, very hard. It's not easy at all. But that's the task we have in front of us. And that's why you see, we have to quickly proceed through these lower tasks. Giving up this, like for example, thinking I'm a Marathi, I'm a Punjabi, I'm a Bengali. These are very low associations. I mean, like you may be a Gujarati, but do you really like feel any proud or happiness, in being Gujarati? Like, is it something it's a weak association. It's not a strong association. So start practicing from there. Go to Mayapur, everyone speaks Bengali. And within like a week, you'll forget that you are a Gujarati, Punjabi or anything. And I have like for sure lived in different lands. Kashmir, then Maharashtra, now Finland. So I've never lived in my native place. So yeah, it may be a bit easy for me to not identify with my native place. But then again, that's the point. If you just stay away, then that association is gone. If you live in a Gujarati Samaj, then that association becomes very strong. You go and live in Tamil Nadu, like, in Tamil Nadu, there are Sikhs who migrated there during Second World War. They speak fluent Tamil. And their accent is Tamil. They are Sikhs by dress and religion, but their food habits, they make dosa, idlis, sambar. They don't cook chola bhatura or parathas or anything. In due course of time, if a Sardar can become a Tamil, why can't we become Krishna conscious? See, it's so easy. Practice, practice, and practice. Detachment and practice. Krishna is advising Arjuna in the 6th chapter of Gita.
Prabhuji, and one more thing. Since this example of this Brahman Patni, Brahman wives is mentioned over here, there was one question I always had about this, See, actually, the wives of the Brahmins, the women in those days, they were not separately educated or not given. They were instructed by the father or the husband or something like that. And these were karma kandi people, right? They were performing. So, like the same faith or the same instructions, the same education must be given to these women also, which the men had. But why is it that these women, in spite of having the same type of education, they had this kind of faith in Krishna? Was it just because they were women? Or what could be the reason that they behaved so differently?
That's a very nice question, actually. Very nice question. Vedic women were far, far, far more qualified than us. Vedic men were like unbelievable. They were out of this world altogether, but they were. So it's not that these women were illiterate. I mean, they were not taught like Nyaya and Shastras. They were not Panditas, but they knew much more Bhagavatam than we know. These ladies, when they were, I'll give you like a day in the life of a typical Vedic woman. So a Vedic girl would get up in the morning, purify herself. So, the Shaucham, purification. And then she would start cooking for the deities, cleaning the house, cooking for the deities. So that means she was doing devotional service. Then, when they were there, so see, they were living with, so, you have read that, a daughter is always protected by father. So the moral instructions were given by father and mother. Now, like for example, in the West today, the moral instruction given by father and mother is, hey, don't get pregnant, or don't take drugs. But in Vedic age, all the morality was based on scriptures, Shastra. So how are they taught? So a typical girl in Vedic age would learn about Mother Sita, they would learn about Radharani, they would learn about Mandodari. So they would learn about ladies. And then of course, if you're learning about Mandodari, you have to know who is Ravan. Then you know who's Ram and who's Sita. Then you know whole of Ramayana. So all those instructions were given. So these girls, they were very learned actually, well learned in that sense. They didn't learn Nyaya and other Shastras. They were not learning Vyakaran and Nyaya, but they were learning all the Bhagavatam level of knowledge. So they were very pure. See, how will girls maintain purity? Think of it this way. Why do we say, women are lower by birth? Because they are born in Rajoguna.
Hmm.
This is applicable now. This was applicable in the past.
Hmm.
So Rajoguna, that means the influence of Rajoguna is strong. Therefore, the protection also must be stronger.
Hmm.
Sports cars have very powerful brakes because the engine is very powerful. So if Rajoguna is
Hmm.
strong, then protection must be stronger. So what was that protection? Strong moral instructions of the mother and the father.
Hmm.
And then in due course of time, a pious husband who would also be morally very strong.
Hmm.
In this way, the morality in the society was maintained. So these
Hmm.
girls, they knew a lot. So these Brahmana Patnis, I mean, they were wives of Yajnavalkya Brahmanas who were worshipping
Hmm.
Narayan.
Hmm.
Because in the village of Vrindavan, Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj were also worshipping Narayan.
Hmm.
So simply by hearing the scriptures, they were already purified. So when the boys approached them, they already knew who is Krishna.
Hmm.
So, and of course, they were Brahmana Patnis of Vrindavan. They were Brajvasinis, Brajavadhus.
Hmm.
That's why
But
they could also give up everything.
even the men, their husbands knew, na? But still they were not able to do it.
Because they were Yajnavalkya Brahmanas. They were worshipping Narayan. So they thought that. So they didn't have full faith in Krishna. They were not impious men, but they didn't have full faith. Like we see, for example, the story of Lord Hanuman in Brihad Bhagavatamrita. So when Narad Muni approaches Hanuman and he asks him, he says, "My dear Hanuman, why don't you come with me to Vrindavan?" So Hanuman refuses. He says, "My dear Lord, I am just a monkey. I don't have that level of understanding. If I go there, the platform of love in Golok Vrindavan is on complete spontaneity. If I go there, I will misunderstand those pastimes and I may commit offenses. So therefore, it is best that I stay here in Ayodhya with my beloved Lord Ram." So this is a bit difficult to understand. So these Brahmanas of Vrindavan, they were not of the same level as Brahmanas of Navadvip, who were outright offensive to Lord Chaitanya.
Hmm.
These Brahmanas just didn't understand the personality of Krishna,
Hmm.
but they were Vaishnavas.
Yes, but Prabhuji, that only is the thing, that the Brahmanas were Vaishnavas and their wives also, and they were obviously more educated about the scriptures and everything as compared to their wives. But yet, in spite of all this, they did not have the faith, but the wives had it. So, what was so special about the thing that the wives had it? And why is it that they could develop and these people, in spite of all this, they could not? They were not even Gyanis, no?
Vedeshu Durlabh, Adurlabham Atma Bhaktao. These Brahmanas were proud of their knowledge, conditioned by Sattvagun. That's the reason why great sages like Agastya, Kapil, Agastya, and then who's this? Kashyap, they are not able to go back to Godhead. Even though they are direct sons of Brahma, still they haven't developed full faith in Krishna. They can meet Krishna, they are meeting Krishna also. Because conditioning of mode of goodness. That's why, Devi Eshu Gunamayi, Mama Maya Duratyaya. Very difficult to give up. So conditioning of knowledge, they were proud of their position as Brahmanas. Because Sattva Guna in material world is tinged with Rajoguna. And Krishna demands absolute surrender, Shuddha Sattva.
So, how much role does the womanly nature of these Brahman Patnis has to play in this? Matlab, they
Very
were
much.
women and these were young boys, matlab, like children. So, they were naturally very attracted.
Yeah. So they were affectionate, naturally affectionate. That helped them become purified. Like Kubja. Kubja was the lowest grade woman. And she was attracted to Krishna out of lust. But that gave her perfection.
So, looks like one of the instances where having a womanly body really worked in favor and they could develop the faith.
Anything can work in favor in Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada also used to say it's easier for ladies to take bhakti, but it's easier for men to maintain bhakti. You need sattva guna to maintain. That's why Lord Vishnu is himself maintaining.
Hmm. Okay, you
So-
don't need sattva gun to so much to take to bhakti, but to maintain.
You do need actually. I mean, otherwise, how will you be attracted to Krishna?
Ah, yeah.
Like where I was studying near our hostel, there was a famous restaurant, Krishna Bar and Restaurant. So you see. So yes, but womanly nature, because they are more emotional, more sentimental by nature, they can take to bhakti easily.
Hmm.
Who wouldn't be inspired by loving pastimes of Krishna? But then to maintain in bhakti, one should switch over to sattva guna. Then one should understand the logic behind that love and affection and understand that that is not a bodily love and affection. So it's, but it's not impossible. I mean, it's easy. It's not so difficult. Kalau Shudra Sambhava. In this age of Kali, everyone is on the level of women or Shudra only. So one should strive hard, but one should not become proud of it because this is coming from Acharya. This is not our knowledge. This is not our qualification. Both are coming from Krishna.
Okay, Prabhuji. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Anumataji, you have a question also.
Yeah, I have two questions. I'm just saying we are running out of time. Should we continue tomorrow or we wanted to discuss it today?
You have two questions.
Ji.
Okay, you
One is
can
on the
note them
same
down.
topic that Mataji. Ji, I will.
Because in India, it's getting very late now. It's already 10 p.m. in India.
Ji.
So I will hold them. And these topics
Okay.
are very important, so we should take time to discuss them.
Ji, ji.
But you please note them down and remind me the first thing when we start tomorrow.
Ji, ji.
Okay,
Thank
and one
you,
more
Prabhuji.
point. Yeah,
Mhm.
thank you. There's one more point I'd like to add here. One problem of both Shudras and women is that immediately upon some achievement, they become proud. I am beautiful. I am qualified. I am so strong. These are qualities of in the Rajoguna. They are qualities of Shudras, Kshatriyas, Vaishnavas, Vaishyas, not the qualities of Brahmanas. But to sustain in bhakti, one has to be a Brahmana. So one should immediately curb this pride. If one is feeling proud of his knowledge, his intelligence, his beauty, his power of speech, his ability to influence others, one should immediately understand this is coming from Krishna. If you're susceptible to becoming proud, write it down. If you think you're a brilliant engineer, write it down. I am a brilliant engineer because Krishna has given this to me. Sarvasya cha amriti sannivishto mattah smritir jnanam apavanam cha. Write down this verse and keep it there. Or I am the ability of man. 10th chapter, you write these verses and keep it there and remind yourself. That is one way you'll be able to give up all pride. Understanding that this has come from Krishna and it is used for service of Krishna. And if you're still not able to give it up, then think, how much are you able to help others advance in Krishna consciousness? Then that will definitely make you humble. So curb this pride. Krishna doesn't like this at all. Like not at all. Krishna, you may be a sinful demon. Krishna is okay with that. You may be a lusty debauchee. Krishna can tolerate that also. But he will never tolerate pride. So please curb this pride and you'll advance in bhakti very fast. Okay. So we stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Prabhuji.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Thank you so
Hare
much.
Krishna.
Krishna, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you, Prabhuji.